Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget, you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode.
How you doing?
Good, man. We just started streaming, so I know it was a little bit funky, but so we'll get started here in just a second. Hey, Adam, we're already streaming.
Hey, all right. Well, better late than never. How's it going?
We brought Ian on. This is from Agency Assassin. I forgot to tell you that I had invited a guest.
Oh, no. Somebody cool to talk to. What? Hey, man, what's up?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Can't complain. Good. I guess if we're starting, Bradley, did you tell everybody like what episode number and all that, or should we get that out of the way?
Let's just
all
go
right.
ahead.
Well, if you can remind me, because I was having trouble logging in. What episode is
582.
it? 582. All right, everybody, it's episode 582. This is Hump Day Hangouts. We got a non-standard start here, but we're going to have some fun. It is the 28th of January, 2026. And let's see, we got a couple of quick announcements. One, I just wanted to say that we've got some videos that we've been posting started yesterday. I'll put the link to the page down there, but it's some stuff Bradley's been putting out, a lot of really good content about what's going on as far as AI, local SEO, what he's been doing, what he's been building over the last couple of years, and where he sees things going. So important videos to watch. Also some cool updates coming on the mastermind. They're already in effect, but we will be sharing that publicly on Friday. So stay tuned for that. If you're not already on the email list, head over to semanticmastery.com, sign up. We send out not only info about these videos, the Hump Day Hangouts, but also a lot of other good information. And we get to have cool guests like this and share their info. So you definitely want to do that. Other than that, I guess we'll go around, say hi to everybody real quick, and then we can kind of jump into things. So I'll go counterclockwise on my screen. Chris, how you doing?
Doing good. Glad to be here today. Had a pretty good workout as well, and the weather is nice as well. Rest. It's all about work. And yeah, that's what we're doing.
Fuck
Bradley.
You with that nice weather stuff, man.
So well,
Bradley,
you know how
how's the
bad
weather?
it was like a week and two ago. I mean,
yeah, it's like you guys can kiss my ass. I got a foot of snow on the ground. So.
Yeah, I think most of the U.S. has been. It's just in kind of a similar like shitty boat. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, cool. And we got a special guest, Bradley. I'll let you do the introduction here real quick. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen you in Slack. We haven't talked face to face. And when I see your name, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to say this? I'm going to get it wrong.
Oh, it's just Ian. It's Ian.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this is Ian Ovens from Agency Assassin. And we met, I don't know, probably a couple years ago now, something like that. And we've chatted a few times, and he's also in a little mini mastermind with Jeremy Noltzman from Press Advantage and Adam. We tend to never all get connected at the same time though in that little mini mastermind, and Brian Cato's in there as well. And so we talk about like AI stuff and just catch up and stuff. So it's kind of cool. But I invited him on just because I thought it would be cool to have him on and kind of guest host and stuff like that. Ian's knows a hell of a lot of stuff about CTR for sure. I think it's a bit dangerous personally myself when it's not done properly. So I try to avoid it myself, but it's because I don't know it as well as he does. And so I think, having him on just to kind of chat through some of these questions that we're going to get today and anything that you want to contribute in. So yeah, say hi to the audience and all that.
Real quick, I apologize. 1 sec, Bradley, I was just checking the redirect and it looks like it's not live. Can you double check that? I see the mastermind webinar for January 29th.
Oh, no shit. All right, let me go back and check.
So I was like, I guarantee you our questions will be few if we have nobody watching. So
yeah, that's weird. For some reason it copied a scheduled link instead of the one that I was supposed to copy. It's probably operator error would be my guess.
That's never happened to me. I've never copied the wrong thing.
All right. So anyway, I'm gonna get this solved right now. So go ahead.
All right. Sorry, Ian, go for it.
Yeah. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Really, really appreciate getting just to talk to Bradley. we just did an interview for a course that I was working on for IMG courses. That's very entrepreneur based. And Bradley did awesome. It was just an excellent session on like a complete marketing plus like business management, like a structural way of running a business where marketing is built in. That is like, service first, value first. I loved it. It was absolutely awesome. I'm the co-founder of Agency Assassin. So we're a SaaS CTR platform. So we do click-through rate specifically for Google Maps. Started the company in 2019. I've been doing SEO since technically 2011. My first entry was 2008. But the first time I managed a campaign was 2011. And I mean, like, I love to share about what works and what doesn't. Things are changing all the time, and I get to work on thousands of campaigns. So I get to see a lot of stuff and have opinions based on that.
Yeah. It's amazing how you're like, for me, when I started doing white label services and I just had access to hundreds and hundreds of GBPs all at once, it really changed how I do SEO. You know what I mean? Like to see data at scale like that, it really changed how I kind of like even approach SEO really, because I think when you're only working on, a handful or a dozen or so properties or something like that, I think there's a lot of things that you can't see the forest through the trees, so to speak, because you're kind of like in it. But when you get above it, because you got to process a lot of data, I think it makes it easier to see patterns and trends and things that we can manipulate,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and especially because there's so much confirmation bias built into looking at your own campaigns.
Yeah.
It's just the things that that work. And so, what's cool is when you start doing white label, you get to see what other people do that works. And that's definitely extremely helpful. Or
the other side of that is you get to see a lot of what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So it's one path or the other. It still ends up in the same destination. You either learn from those that are doing it very, very well, which tends to be very few and far between, or you get to learn what not to do by seeing those that are done very, very poorly. So.
Yeah, well, and I'd say these days the people who are having it the toughest are the people who are trying to get by with gimmicks. Are the guys that are having the toughest time.
Hacks.
Yeah. Which I am classically. I'm a high-end hack.
Yeah, but those days are numbered, man. I mean, like anything right now that I think anything, and you and I talked about this, I think anything that works like as just kind of a temporary, like a hack and type, it has a very short shelf life, because everything is about validation, branding, authority, EEAT now, believe it or not. For the longest time, I thought it was just kind of a manual quality rater guideline or whatever, but now it's, I think, baked in to the algorithm. So I think those days are gone. But I mean, I just finished one of our thank you, Chris. I see that you commented. We just finished a office hours session for our mastermind just like an hour ago. And and we were talking about, authenticity and your work and everything else it's really what matters. And what I was talking about was like, we were looking at buyer personas, right? We went through a whole process on how to use AI to develop very detailed ICPs for whatever industry you're, either the SEO professional in our mastermind, like targeting to or marketing to the business owners in whatever chosen industry. So developing ICPs for those business owners, but then also developing ICPs for the consumers of the products or services that the local business owners provide. You know what I mean? And so we were going through that process, and it was really interesting, because in addition to, like, I think getting to the point that I'm trying to make is not just about what we have done in SEO for years, and Ian is one of them, an unapologetic spammer, right? So have I been, but those days are quickly fading, and and I actually think it's better, because I enjoy the more marketing angle side of things, like marketing and copywriting and that kind of stuff, which requires, I think, a bit. It's not so technical, but it does require. It's still skill that you can develop. But I think it's more fun. And so we were talking about like developing ICPs, and then also looking at the different types within a particular ICP, and like and where they are in the buying cycle, like, and how you can develop content for different stages of where they are in the buying cycle, and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's kind of where, instead of just, we used to be able to just hack stuff or SEO stuff up to the top of search results. And when Google was the only game in town, if you ranked at the top, it really didn't matter what your copy was, right? Like you'd still you'd still make sales or get leads, whatever your conversion goal was. But now there's so many options. People are a hell of a lot more discerning. And so it's not just about getting the exposure, but it's about converting the visitor once you capture their attention, so.
Yeah. And what I see, I mean, like, I definitely see that the people, it seems to have converged a little bit. Like the types of organizations with people who are going to put their time into the UX are also the type of people who are, just because it's so expensive, like taking the time to do UX is so like organizationally, creatively expensive that if you don't have like some sort of process built around it, you're not going to be able to scale anything. And so businesses that are able to implement like process around something that says, in my opinion, high cost, like operational cost as UX, those are the people who are doing really well right now because they're operationalizing their business as well. And they're able to deal with, they're getting rid of the really difficult to vanquish unknowns right now when you don't have a like checklist, for instance. Because like, I mean, like right now, for sure, Google's looking for weaknesses as disqualifiers. They're looking to disqualify businesses. They're looking to find fakes. And how do they find them? Well, you're missing, some major component of trust or authority or signal that everybody else has. And they're saying, we think this is disqualifying based upon, we have all this data and no one looks like this business. You're an outlier. So we're just going to immediately throw you out and we're just going to work with these other people. And I think that this is where like the best agencies are the ones that are really so good at building that in. Joy Hawkins, the way that Joy Hawkins business works is every single action they take is considered a test. And whenever there's an outlier result, it automatically escalates to her. So it's like they're literally testing on every action they do across every client every day. And it's like, and she's doing extremely well.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think, and those types of like, I mean, it's very ambitious to consider just jumping off and having that kind of organizational discipline, but I think that it's important right now. And I do think you're trying to like to me, it's like, all right, look, everything that we used to do, all the bullshit, you're not going to get there on your own. But as soon as you cross that line and Google thinks you're legitimate, you should go hog wild as far as I'm concerned. Because
you mean tread lightly when you're spamming until you pass the authority, like you've gained the authority and the trust, and then go hog wild.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's stupid shit not to do, but like if you know what you're doing, link building is freaking awesome right now.
Yep.
But only like to support like structures of authenticity. And like the same thing for CTR. CTR works really well, low competition right now and wide strategies. So I'm doing like 200 keyword strategies for clients because I can find opportunities and there will be leads in there. And sometimes it's a lot, but it's that, or if it's high authority, then it has to like match like some authentic picture. And so, I'm constantly, when I get on a call, I'm telling people, I'm being like, well, are you good at SEO? If you're here to replace SEO and you don't want to do it, you're not going to rank #1 for Los Angeles personal injury with CTR. So, like you need to be pretty good. And, the times where it works best is where, honestly, there's so many businesses where like the reason that they don't rank is because their name isn't clickable. And that I guarantee you, if you look at like a ton of businesses and you're like, why doesn't this business rank? I bet for a large subsection of those, it's just not a clickable name, because that'll push down your organic click-through enough that you'll never hit the top rankings. And so in those situations where absolutely everything else about the business is as good, CTR makes an amazing difference because there are businesses for which they're just not clickable. And unless you get them to change their name or their title on Google Maps, like they're just gonna live with that. And in those
so you mean like for a generic keyword name instead of an actual branded name?
Well, yeah, or the brand is not clickable. The brand isn't interesting. And those are things that it's so funny because this is where your old school content strategy stuff, marketing comes into play. Where you're talking to customer and saying, you have to convince them your name fucking sucks, man. You can't do this. You're making all of our work harder. But I think that those problems are they're sometimes hard to detect. But that's where being willing to have the knobs to turn, whatever SEO Neo press releases, niche edits, or other ways of getting links or link exchanges or whatever. testing a signal if that you think is missing is really, really valuable. If you're having,
Yeah.
sometimes it's really hard to create that,
Yeah.
and so being able to test it, maybe, I mean, I suppose there's a role for people who test CTR, and then you go out and be like, hey, you have to change your business name or something, but
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting because, and part of the reason I stopped doing kind of like manufactured signals was because I've seen it done very poorly. I've also seen it cause negative effect at times. But where I've actually found it's interesting because as a white label link rolling provider, I do a lot of analyses on backlink profiles at the top 5 ranked competitors for local search queries across, dozens and dozens of industries. And I always get to see there's always outliers of local businesses that are performing really well in search that by all other SEO metrics, they have no reason or business ranking.
Right.
And that always comes back to there's really only 2 things that I can think of that cause that. And that is, number one, branded search and clicks from within their local area. And so that, and then, and also just having enough kind of local authority built to the brand itself, even if it doesn't have good SEO metrics, it's an authoritative brand. And so therefore it can perform well, but branded search and clicks can do that. And I know that from, if local businesses are doing offline marketing and advertising, like yard signs, or you see yard signs or put up on telephone poles, or even walking around and canvassing and hanging door knockers, like those things that hang on the doors, the little flyers, or doing newspaper inserts, or print ads in a local market, radio ads, cable TV ads, billboards, like all of that kind of stuff. It forces local consumers to go search for the company by name and then click through. And those signals can rank businesses all day long when it's coming from known Google users in their local area,
I actually did an experiment with CTR with a top business in Colorado for roofing, and they do billboards everywhere. They do offline stuff. They do all the stuff. And I tried doing some simple click-through manipulation for them. And I took them from 13 to 1 across about a 20 square mile area in the middle of a major metro overnight. And so they had the pre-existing traffic there. They had tons of that branded traffic. And the thing is so my signal just validated. All that it was a validator. It was, and I think that you get, I think that the multi-signal validation impact right now is so big where you have strong signals and you're missing a validator, and it'll just be a weak signal. And then once you validate it with some other signal, all of a sudden it pops. Google says, okay, this is legitimate. And I think that that's kind of a big challenge right now, is what is the signal that's missing?
It's missing, right.
And it's really hard to tell. And I think that that's why it's honestly, the best SEO right now is do everything, and find things that you're not doing and do it at the lowest cost that you can at the highest quality. And and if you can, to whatever degree you're able to build that into your systems of how do I do something for a low cost with a high value and actually go out wider, I do think that's kind of the best method right now. I think that, that's one. The second one is have your link on anything with traffic. Which is that it's so hard though. And like all the traffic on all those pages now is all going to Gen AI. So pages with traffic are, you know, I mean, I suppose pages that rank in SERPs is a proxy for pages of traffic, but
well, yeah, but I mean, you can send traffic other ways too, besides CTR, but like through social media and email campaigns and things like that. So and that's kind of what I was talking about in our mastermind about how I've tested recently, and you and I talked about this on one of the mastermind webinars that we had, the mini mastermind webinars or meetings that we had a few weeks ago. About just assigning authorship. Like if you just assign a subject matter expert that's, from the company as an author to the content, even if it's pure AI generated content, it tends to just perform better. It's like it's bypassing filters because somebody's claiming that that they authored it. And so certainly it helps to not just put out AI slop with an authorship on. I'm just saying by just doing that alone, it tends to perform better. And so what I found and what I started doing with some of my tree guys was creating, kind of taking over and doing more social media posting for them, because just getting their social profiles more active, even you understand, like, I'm not saying that we're posting, we're just posting on their social profiles to improve or increase the activity of them, that persona. Right. Then when we assign their name to the content as the author, the additional engagement helps it to perform better. Like, and I'm not even saying like getting clicks from the social media to the content. I'm talking about just having the persona that is now the author being active and engaged on their social media can help that content that is assigned, that is attached to that author, perform better, is what I'm saying.
Which makes so much sense too. And I think that, I mean, like, because like, man, it's so hard, right? I mean, for Google, for anybody, for any of these AI companies, for them to read information that they want to use as like a source and then know that it's true is so hard.
Right.
Like that's the bar that they're trying to clear constantly. So everything that they read, it's not like, does this information seem good or is it linked to? It's like, is fucking real or not? Because most of, like, nothing's fucking real anymore.
That's right.
And so the more that you like attach like a voice to a person, the more that person has like a rich profile. I think that I do think that the direction we're going to see things going in is more and more like micro influencer, micro community, because there's like some way of to have some way of knowing that something exists, you know,
and that it's real.
Yeah, that's real. I think that it just becomes I don't think it's a solvable problem for any of these companies. And so it's like, you know, like I think that's why Reddit became, what was it, about a year ago that Reddit blew up? And all I can guarantee it's because Google can look at every user and every like upvote and every comment and every single one and see an entire history behind it that they can link back to this one comment or this one, you know, this one engagement moment. And so it's like Google can probably evaluate those to be bots or not. Google can, you know, I mean, well, actually, they don't even have to because moderators do. So human moderators are going through every single comment and every single post and saying, we don't like this. This is fake. This is sales. And they're throwing those out. So Google has this like, you know, what, billions of dollars worth of labor filter on information. And they're just like, of course, they're going to like value that super highly. You know, who knows? It's untold billions of worth of labor that goes into the moderation of Reddit as an entity, you know? And so Google can just cash in. Cool.
Yeah.
You know? Like
it automatically approves it almost, you know?
Yeah.
That makes we had a question come in from that is for you. From Costco is his username. Agency Assassin versus Jumper.
Yeah, I'll tell you the difference between us. I really think in some situations, Jumper is a really good product. They're doing so from what I understand, and I haven't seen the background of it. This is what they claim, but they do get really good results. It is a higher market entry point than my product, meaning it's their signals are of somewhat higher quality. I'll just say that right up front. Mine serves somewhat different of a purpose at a much lower price point. But what they're doing is they're automating and gamifying ads, and they have users that are doing driving directions. So theoretically, you know, those are users with like logged in sessions that are going in and they're unique and they're doing interactions. They're much higher cost. So, you know, Jumper is likely to have like a higher cost structure, which means that they're going to try to optimize those over time, which means they're going to try to get results for you, which means that you might have to go and if you don't see the performance you used to, you might be the victim of some optimization that they're doing to save costs, and you might need to go talk to them about it. I have heard that come up from time to time. But besides that, it is a really high quality product. The guys are really smart. I really like them, honestly. They're good guys. For some people, it's a really great product. It's 10 times more expensive than my product is. My product is mobile devices and smart math. So I'm solving all the detection methods through an SOP that's guaranteeing that the variety of signals that I'm sending obfuscates the high value signals that I'm sending. Right now, today, you can't just send clicks to your top keywords without basically, getting a negative result. So I've developed a really, really safe system that is all about manipulating the math. It's all about statistics. It's all about normalized distribution curves. How do you send a normalized signal? And you send a bunch of signal, and part of that is the actual signal, and the rest is calculated noise. And ours works really, really well, especially on long tail. My agency's top client is an attorney, and we ranked for some weird terms because we did 200 keywords. And so we ended up getting this insane result on the keyword is law firm for car accident. stupid keyword, never would have optimized for it, never would have put it on a website. We came up 30 positions by doing literally like 2 clicks per month over 6 months. And now they're ranked in the map pack across the city for that term. So, yeah, so their caseload is up twice. And CTR is probably our biggest advantage there. But that's because everything else is done right. We rebuilt their content. We fixed all their schema. We did better content strategy. We got rid of all the stupid keyword optimizations as business titles and made everything make sense. It made it all like, semantically, valid. And, we did all those things together with linking and press releases and CTR. But CTR is what makes that big, is what it's able to go fishing for these opportunities in ways that other SEO can't do as effectively on cost. And that's also where it performs best, because Google invalidates CTR the most where there's the highest value for them. So on keywords that Google makes the most money on, they use CTR the least. And actually, the guys over at Jumper, we had a conversation about this because they have the exact same problem on those same keywords. And without like having like knowledge graph, EEAT, on that subject where you're validated, and so the traffic that you're sending is validated, you don't get performance. And so we both have the same problem. Ours is we probably get less far there than they do on because the difference in the signals, but both of us have that same challenge. Like, you need to have like other forms of authority.
Okay, so 2 things, because I want to make sure the audience is clear on what you were talking about, because I understand what you were saying, and but I want to make sure everyone does too, in that what you were saying is, so the high value keywords, so for example, in local type search queries that have high average CPC values in Google Ads, those are the ones that when you send CTR manipulation traffic to, Google pays the least attention to because they're high value. But the kind of more long tail or branded search queries, or brand plus a product or service keyword, or brand plus a location modifier type of a CTR, which is very low competition if it has any measurable search volume, but doing a low click-through rate, kind of, that sends proper signal, because is that what you're saying? So it's a more powerful signal because it's not as commercially viable for Google, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So Google has less data available to them because it's a less popular search term.
That's right.
So not only is it's not optimized for on websites, there aren't users searching for it, so the precedence is very low. So their likelihood of having a less of a lower quality result UX wise is higher, and so CTR is more likely to be evaluated. And so, like, when you get into the most competitive search terms, their likelihood of a high quality user experience is super high on almost any result, because everybody's optimized for it over a long period of time and invested into it. They can serve almost any of those results to give somebody a pretty quality experience. And so, from a data value standpoint, Google has more data value on a less searched keyword for our CTR to impact. And then in addition to that, Google has detection methods that are super biased towards the words that you're going to manipulate, which are the ones they make money on. So in other words, they do have some detection where, like, if you send a lot of traffic at a keyword that they know people want, they're likely to detect that traffic and to change how they evaluate the traffic on the listing. And what they do is they filter it. So, like, if you send lots of traffic at a high value keyword, you're likely to increase your A/B test rate, and that also increases your filter rate on the clicks. The problem is that if those clicks are real, they still get filtered, and you can cause real clicks to get filtered through CTR. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the second thing. Then I said 2 things earlier, and this is the second item, because the dude from Jumper Media, I can't remember his name, and I apologize for that, but we were just at SEO Rockstars.
Bolton, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just at SEO Rockstars, in Dallas not last weekend, but the weekend before. And we had a discussion on the Thursday VIP night. Some alcohol might have been involved. But we had a discussion about how he was saying that from Jumper Media, that he was saying that he hasn't seen any negative effect from CTR. And I was just like, are you kidding? I've seen it happen many times, negative effect of CTR. So, like, you apply a campaign to something, and then within a matter of days, sometimes within a matter of hours, if it's been done too aggressively or improperly, I see a significant decline in GBP performance, like a map area just shrink way down. I've seen that happen a number of times. And so I'm just curious. I'm not here to, argue the point because we had it was a good debate about it, but it was just interesting to see, since you've been running Agency Assassin, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, like, because I think it's Colton. I'm pretty sure his name's Colton.
I can't remember his name. I apologize.
Yeah, I met him. I met him a couple times. We hung out. I like the guy. There is a chance that if everything works the way that he says that it does, that those profiles are unique enough that they're not triggering filtering. So like I don't have the benefit of having like full cookie profiles, user histories, logged in accounts. So if he does, then it might be a lot less likely to get a negative effect. So in other words, my method might be more likely to get a negative effect. Which is,
but I'm just saying what I'm saying though is, so you have seen CTR produce a negative effect.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is easily an instrument of evil. I mean, like, not right. Like this is not like, it is a profound capability to do terrible things with CTR, especially right now. And it's because Google is I think it's because of the value of the signal. Google really does not want people to mess with it. And so they're probably err on the wrong side in terms of their sensitivity is probably too high. Right. It is very easy to do very negative SEO with click-through rate manipulation right now. And people have no recourse. And yeah, so it's like, if somebody's having that done, I'm very against, like, people talk to me about using my software that way. And whenever I've shut people down because they were trying to use my software that way, because like, it's literally, local businesses are like, someone is life. Yeah. It's their life.
Yeah.
You know,
it is.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Like I have zero, I do not support this on Google Maps because like, I do not like the kind of crisis it could cause for somebody is so profound. Many businesses would go out of business without Google Maps, and that's just not a good option. Right. That said, like, yeah, they definitely do exist. That said, I mean, like, it's not hard to avoid it either. It's just a matter of understanding, like, that Google's looking at like a combination of signals, and your math has to work out. I mean, like, if you look at statistically traffic for anything, any page on the internet, any Google Maps location, all of them are going to have the same distribution curve when you look at what rank entered into that listing. And it's going to start high at 1 and it's going to go down to 0.
That's right.
And if you have a curve that looks like anything other than that, Google can detect it. And so basically, anytime that you're doing CTR, you have to ensure that that's how your curve looks. And it's possible to have a blip out, down the tail. In fact, Google knows that blips down the tail are novel things they need to pay attention to, but it's also scams. And so the thing that Google needs most to increase ranking is that same blip down the tail as the scammer. And so like they have to evaluate that all the time. And so what you want to do is you're sending data, you're causing the blip, but you're also sending the other stuff that looks normal and natural. And if you do all that, like, CTR works quite well right now.
All right. So to kind of paint more of to illustrate this a little bit further. So for example, like if you were going to maybe start a CTR campaign, or possibly if you had one running at low volume, maybe increase the volume slightly, right? Okay. Perhaps publish a press release or something first, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something like that, so that it warrants that blip. There's data out there that was injected into the algorithm, like a bunch of press releases referencing the brand name, and then all of a sudden there's an increase in CTR.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like that company that did the traditional brand marketing, I turned on CTR, they instantly went to number 2, and I went aggressive at it. And that's because that traffic was already there. So yeah, but you can fake the traffic. You can also send branded clicks with CTR. And then, so my strategy is generally branded. So I send, my default strategy is 7 clicks per day to start. It doesn't matter how much traffic the listing has, because you don't know how it's going to blend it, honestly, is the long and short of it. Of those 7 clicks, 2 of those are to long tail with 100 keywords. So they're clicked. So those clicks are once every 50 days. So it's rare data. That's the whole point. It's not a trend. They're not tracking it consistently. And that's two of them. 3 of them are branded. And then 2 of them are your high competition, high value keywords, usually 10 or 15 keywords. And so you're getting roughly weekly clicks on your highest value keywords. You're getting semi-monthly on your long tail, and some of those are we pull the keywords out of the GBP performance data. So it's stuff that there's already impressions for.
GBP insights.
Yep.
Insight,
So it's impressions. Some of it's barely related to the business, but it doesn't matter because it's showing up for impressions. And so and then the branded, and that is just it's basically like the math on it would suck to figure this out as a signal. It's very hard to figure out. So basically, it's a neutral enough signal that it works consistently. There are way more powerful signals. There are people in our industry who use my software and do incredibly aggressive strategies, and 60% of their clients see awesome results, and 40% of their clients, they bring them in, they sync, and then they cycle them out, and they find
they nuke them. They fucking nuke them is what they do.
Yeah.
Well, to see that, I'm not comfortable with that ratio.
I don't like
60-40. I'm not comfortable with that, man.
No, I don't think and I tell everybody this when I sign them up. I'm like, look, you're gonna get really, really good performance in the first month on about 50% of your campaigns. In the next month, about another 20%, and then the rest of them, it's gonna take like 6 months. And you'll see it because age traffic turns into a trust factor, because the problem complexity of setting traffic 6 months ago is super high. And so because of that, Google trusts old traffic very, very well. And so even though they don't trust today's traffic, they trust 6 months ago's traffic a lot. And so you can actually build trust and relevance over time on high competition keywords very effectively with traffic over time. But that's not like a fast signal. And if you lack that authority up front and you try to get it by increasing the volume of the traffic, then you get rate limited, you get filtered, you get filtered, you get A/B tested. Yeah.
So, okay. So then the next question then is, and I did a lot of testing with this 4 or 5 years ago, but I haven't done much at all since, because I've kind of gotten away from doing CTR. And because again, 4 years ago is when I started my white label agency. And so we do everything at scale now. And it was too difficult for me to manage CTR. Once I got above a couple dozen clients, it was almost impossible to manage the CTR campaign. So we dropped it. We just dropped it entirely from my kind of suite of services because of that. But what I'm getting at is 4 or 5 years ago, when I was doing a lot of CTR stuff, referral traffic. So sending CTR traffic through social media links to ultimately the target GBP website, whatever. That worked incredibly well. Is that still valuable, powerful?
Yeah, that is actually anything. So there's what's his name? Jimmy Pacul. I don't know how to say his last name. Jim. He's a guy that sells. He sells they do link rotation with Facebook ads. And so they do that to the GBPs. They do like URL manipulation, and then they do link rotation, so they get different referrals into the GBP through different link targets. And so they're doing that so that they can basically have a rotate, just different signals. He was doing that to get keyword specific data through a meta ad into the GBP with the manipulated string. And that actually became super negative. And then I'm sure that they figured out how to get around that and with a greater variety, but it works for the same reason. You can do without doing any of that. You can actually just do super simple. If you don't do a manipulated URL, you don't have the risk of over optimizing a keyword and getting the negative. So if you just do a straight URL to your GBP and you do any sort of ad or traffic, and that traffic, here's the thing, the traffic needs to not bounce at a high rate. So you want to do highly targeted traffic. If you do bad targeting, it could be very negative. You do not want 1,000 people sticking your listing.
Well, I've been teaching for years. We still have a training program in our mastermind specifically that I mean, this is like 6 or 7 years old now, but it's still, I know it's still valid. And that is to use Google display net ads and or YouTube ads, where you set geographic for local, you set geographic targeting very tight. You can do it by radius or by specific city or zip code or county or whatever, but typically a pretty tight radius around where the GBP is located, and then run display network ads and or YouTube ads. YouTube, when you get a click, it's a great click. But the YouTube ads was more about getting the brand out there consistently, and then forcing the consumers within that geographic area that the ad is they're being exposed to the ad to then
Yeah.
do a branded search and click. But if you
Yeah.
can get the click from a YouTube ad, then that's a very valuable click, because what I'm talking about is not just setting the geographic targeting, but also selecting an in-market segment, right? So in Google Ads, they have those in-market segments, which are Google users that are likely in market for whatever the topic or the category is that you select. And they have a home services category with a subcategory for lawn and landscaping services, for example. And I did a lot of testing in the tree service industry with this. And so we just set up a you know, like, let's say a 10-mile radius around the GBP. And then we would run display network ads to an in-market segment for those likely in market for lawn and landscaping services. And those types of clicks direct to the GBP URL, like the long map URL. Because it wouldn't accept a redirect. So you couldn't put the share URL in. You'd have to put the long map URL in it. But doing that, you'd see a lift. It's a lift in the maps ranking and exposure across a wider area.
Yeah. So we've seen that with like different types of clicks, doing direct traffic, like doing like dwell time, all those things with CTR work. Like they probably work on not on a direct ranking factor, but probably on a score, like a listing score. That's more of a general score. So when you get the direct traffic, well, it's not going to like pertain to as a ranking factor itself. I think that it pertains to some sort of listing score. And so you're able to increase that. And the more different types of interactions you have, the more time that you have on listing, the more like anything like that. I think all those things help lift that score. And that score is probably going to be leveraged everywhere else that you do anything. So like go ahead. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, but to get back to what you were saying about how you don't want that traffic to bounce right away. And so that's why I'm saying picking an in-market segment, because you can, like, it doesn't happen very often, but I've actually seen leads generated from that ad traffic. So it's and then I've always said this, that Google is because that Google served that ad to that user because that user had something in their search history, the places that they visited, things that they've consumed online as far as like content, et cetera, their search history, et cetera, that force Google to think that they're likely in market for lawn and landscaping services. Right. So that click from them, because it's a geographic click from a known validated Google user that has already expressed some sort of an interest, that click, even if they don't convert or even if they do bounce, it's still a heavier weighted click. It's a more valuable click. You know what I mean? Like,
it seems like you could probably do really well on ranking and ad and actual conversions if you did like an in-market like Google like a post, like a maps post, and you were to link, like direct the ad to the post to where you could have like your super directed relevant content. So you're going audience specific to basically using it as a lead funnel.
It's like a landing page.
Because like then
I hadn't tested it with the GB post URL now, because you'd have to take the long URL out of because it's a redirect. So I don't know if it would work. When there was the Google Business websites, you could run traffic direct to a post URL because that was a static URL.
I was actually just kind of wondering that. I was wondering if it was possible to do, because I haven't experimented with anything like that. But I mean, like, my thought was just, how do you align expectation pre and post click at the highest level and still land on a Google property where Google has all the data, so all the click through, all the engagement data is in Google's hands, and that goes to benefit you. So those things I know work. I mean, these are all things that definitely work. And I think that there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. I think that looking, I mean, it depends on what your resource is, like, it depends on what you're charging your customer. It depends on how well you can implement AI systems. But like, these things are really, really good things to try. And I think especially if you're already running ads for the customers, to like shave off some traffic and send it to the Google Maps location, I think that's probably
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so for local clients for years, and I still got a number of clients right now where the campaigns are running because they're clients that are just on autopilot and have been for years. But where, again, same thing. I just set up a display network campaign for tight geographic targeting in market segment, and then we'll run it at like 30 cents a day.
Yeah.
Like, no kidding. Like, I'm serious. Like, it comes out to be like $10 a month. because we'll still get anywhere 3 to 4 clicks a day from local consumers in market segment. And so we just leave it run for, you could 50 cents a day is like $15 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's super inexpensive, but it's constantly dripping click-through signals from validated Google user profiles. And so it's very easy to set up. It's easy to maintain. And then, like I said, with YouTube, we set up branding. We call it an indirect lead generation or a branding campaign to my clients, where we just, used to go to Fiverr and get a video made for them. And then we would just run a YouTube ads campaign, same thing, geographic targeting with an in-market segment. And then it just runs as a pre-roll ad. So like, the ads that run at the start of a YouTube video. And we do that just for branding purposes. And I tell the clients, you're not going to get a lot of clicks or leads from this, like at least not directly, like from the video. But what happens is, because we would, how you can go in and Google Ads and set the impression max, like the max impressions that any particular user can see your ad in a day. We'd set it to like 5 as the max, so that, people that are in that local area that are YouTube watchers, they would see, if they were in market, they would see that name often. And then when they're ready, they'll do that, contact the company by name through a branded search and click. But those types of clicks, if you do get a click, which again, I would tell the client, you're not going to get a lot of clicks from this. It's more about the view that matters. This is a view campaign, not a click campaign, basically. But those clicks would be incredibly valuable clicks, because that's a Google user that's watching a YouTube video. And the only reason they saw the video is because they're likely in market and they're within the geographic area. Right. Yeah. And so then when they start watching the video and then they click that link, that click through from the video to the Google business profile, that is a fantastic signal. So
yeah, this just like makes it like, I mean, there have to be ways to optimize this with AI. Like there have to be for any given business, there have to be 1,000 opportunities like this to like go out and find a really specific type of user at a really specific place with programmatic and just direct them over based upon, as to where like it's like extremely low incidence, views even. But right. Like where like you're looking just for like a high affinity, for everything to line up. The problem was that it'd be to get them all set up would be very time consuming. To get like all like everything dialed in, find all the different little places, and to get everything configured just right. So it's just the right configuration to find just the right person that's looking for just the right thing in just the right place. But I bet you could go really far down that road. I think with AI you could. It's an interesting idea, because like that seems like an opportunity that's like ripe for the current day.
Yeah, it is actually. And don't plant any seeds for like yet another fucking project to start, man. You know what I mean? I got too many on my to-do list as it is.
I know. No, but like it's just though, because this is like the direction of optimization is there's no if you think about setting up something like that 4 years ago, like that person would be homeless. They would, hey, I'm gonna set up all these little campaigns for you and whatever, and each one of them is gonna take me an hour, and I'm gonna make 10 cents per hour. But like today with AI, like there are like the possibility of tracking and configuring these things. It's just I think that like the limits of our human mind are what that's where, if AI is taking some set of things that goes beyond the limits of our capacity to look at, and like we're leveraging it, like I think that's where it's like really accelerating things right now. Yeah. My biggest example would be so doing like these interviews like the one that I did with you. Previously, if you wanted to take that and turn that into a lesson, you go back through it, you find out, you watch it again, you type everything out. It's probably like, take an hour and a half interview into like something that's a really, really good piece of media is 4 or 5 hours of work.
Oh yeah.
Plus editing, maybe you got like 8 hours in total. Now it's the 3 hours of editing. That's it. Yeah. And like the rest of it's instantly done at really, really well. You pull out all the insights, you get all the great information, and you literally have cut like the amount of time down to like, a fraction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. From somebody that's created a lot of courses, I know how much time you can put into a goddamn course. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's very, very time consuming. And it's funny, there's this dude that I follow on X. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a young guy. He's like 20 years old now. And he's out there creating with AI. Like he does all this market research with Grok, because Grok has real-time access to, X and tweets. And so real-time conversations. and he finds pain points in these very niche discussions, and then uses AI because he's crawling Quora, X, and Reddit, and finding these kind of obscure fucking discussions, and then finding the very specific pain points, and then developing AI solution like a core training courses, and in some cases just straight up PDF documents that talk about how to solve that problem that was very niche that he found. And so he's crushing it. He's out there killing it right now, making like, because he just creating. He's saying like, and he put this long post on X the other day. I saved it in my bookmarks, but it was really good because he was talking about most content creators, like course creators. This is their kind of typical, kind of workflow. Like this is how they go from, inception of the idea to all the way through to a finished product, and how many hours they put in and how much time and all of this. And I was reading it and I was just like, son of a bitch, you know how many courses I've created? And I know exactly what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? And then he talks about, and then there's those of us that are leveraging AI that boom, and he goes through and talks about how he's going through. And then, within 21 days, he's gone from concept to finished product, a launched product.
Wow. That
That is crushing it because it's very, very niche and there's no other solutions out there. And so anyways, I was just like, man, that's brilliant. And that's what, AI has opened up those types of opportunities for us. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be working on this weekend. I'm because finally the technology is all lined up. You're familiar with Claudebot? Have you
Yes.
seen that?
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't? Good God, it's fucking exploded all of a sudden.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So I guess it's called Moltbot now. But so I'm going to be setting up an instance of Moltbot. And so I'm going to create an isolated environment. And my goal is to create a social media manager. So all of its information is going to be all the information in my organization around marketing. It's going to have access to all of the information, conversations and stuff with all the ins and outs, like, in Slack and our ticketing, in whatever else, website, social media, to where it can become a social media marketing manager and start to basically collaborate and create social media calendars, all the other stuff. And I think it can do it. Like, I think we're at that point. Like, it's not out of the box, but man, I've been like, it's crazy because if we're at that point now, where at the highest levels of technical capacity, you can build it now. We are 3, 6, 12 months max from where anybody can fire it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why those of us that are out there in the trenches right now, testing and experimenting and learning, we have a competitive edge on those, because it will become easier for people as the technology continues to advance, but we'll just be better at it. You know what I mean? So I think we're in the right spot. So
especially I bet people because there's going to be some stories about someone, messaging somebody on Facebook, and then their Claudebot gives them all their bank account numbers, transfers all their money into their, name, because there's a severe attack surface when your messages are read by an LLM that it's it doesn't have to even escape, whatever. It just has to escape its context. And all of a sudden it can return, if it's messaging back, it can actually if there's a round trip where it can take information and then message back, then it can extract any information that you have connected and return it back to an arbitrary user. So there's going to be some story about someone who has all of their money taken by somebody who messages them on Facebook or something.
Sure.
That's
well, that's funny, because I've been talking a lot about this in our mastermind is context graph, and being able to connect external apps, and basically creating a persistent memory for all your data, as well as being able to interconnect it between apps and models and things like that. But therein lies the security risks, because it's very easy for that AI for you as a human to make a mistake and allow access to something that it shouldn't have access to, and then boom, now that's exposed and available, and there's so much danger to that. And so I've been talking about how specifically trying to build context graph for specific organizations, which again is persistent memory, and Google Gemini Enterprise gives that, it makes that ability so much easier, all within the Google ecosystem.
Right.
So that, and with the enterprise level, there's a lot of security measures. How I know, because they won't even allow you to share a notebook from an enterprise account, like a notebook LM. I mean,
right.
It doesn't even give you a share button. There's no option.
Yeah.
And it's specifically for that reason. But that's where it makes sense. Like, for example, for Semantic Links, my link building company, I created a Google Workspace Enterprise account plus Gemini Enterprise.
Yeah.
It's a single user workspace account, but it connects to all the Google Drive, the Microsoft OneDrive, which is where we keep all of our client data. Not instead of Google. I never wanted to keep link building data in Google, so we always kept it in Microsoft. But Gemini Enterprise connects with Google Drive, Gmail, my Google Calendar, where all of my appointments, all of my communication with my clients runs through Gmail. It can connect with Stripe, so it knows customer history and their transaction histories and all that kind of stuff. And so, but that's an isolated environment. Like, in other words, everything is locked down to that one domain and all business operations of that one particular domain. It gets a bit trickier when you start to incorporate your own personal profile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, building a context graph for Bradley Benner is much harder than it is to do it for Semantic Links. You see what I'm saying? Because of the danger of it spilling over or getting access to stuff that it shouldn't have access to, which would likely be my fault for allowing access unintended access,
Yeah. Like, as soon as that's why my intention is to use it for like an employee role, where I can, like, every account it's gonna have access to is going to be limited to that like role. So there's still some vulnerability there, because there'll be like some customer information stuff that they'll have access to, but it's only going to be for the social media, it won't actually. Later I might work on customer support as well.
Right.
But I'm going to try it first on social media, which, I mean, like, I'm going to roll it out in chunks in terms of permissions, but like it'll have its own user. It's going to have its own Facebook account. It's going to have like everything so that I have firewalls between every segment and it, because it's going to be an LLM, and so probably my big firewalls are publishing, if it can't publish, if it can only draft. And then user accounts, that it'll have all of its own segmented sub-user accounts, and then probably try to develop some sort of oversight within the Claude bot itself, Moltbot itself, but and then have other users from my business in that monitoring it. So it's like that's how I'm justifying you actually using this, and having it be a lower risk but high value. But I think that just proving, I mean, if you're able to like social media is my bane of my existence. And I don't know about you, but I like to hack things, and then sharing. If I were sharing the things that I'm doing, I would be 10 times more successful than I am.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm the same way, dude. I'm not active on social media at all.
Yeah.
At all. I fucking hate Facebook, by the way. I literally stay off Facebook at all costs if possible. Yeah. I do go on X a lot just to scroll through posts, but I'm not engaged. I'm not active. And in YouTube, we just do YouTube for this, and I like to watch these, but same thing. And I totally agree, dude. If I was just more active on on any social media for that matter, it would be business would be 3 times bigger. I just don't have any desire to do it.
I mean, I personally, I feel gross, wanting, self-promoting, wanting to be hey, look at this awesome idea I had.
Yeah.
And other people use it to such great effect. Some of them suck. Some of them are selling complete garbage. And a lot of people are
massively successful. Yeah.
Well, because they're seen by more people, because they're out there driving engagement, and the class of people out there driving engagement is not always the people that should be out there doing it. And so I'm at some point I'm man, I really should try to do my best, to try to at least send information that's useful, but anyway, so if I could get a bot to do it.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's interesting. Well, listen, we got about 3 minutes left. I got one question that was posted. We only had one pre-posted question today. Sometimes we got bunches, and so that's why we got to spend the whole time talking today, and that's great.
Great.
Great conversation, man. I always enjoy talking with you. So but let me grab the screen real quick, or I'm not even going to grab the screen. I'm just going to read it. This is a long one from Huzzy, which he's been somebody attends these often. So it says, long question, Bradley, currently getting around 8 to 9% reply rate with about 85 to 90% positive from cold email. So he's talking about, Ian, you're probably aware of this. I do a lot of cold email for generating leads for my agencies. And so I've been teaching about that for years. And so he's following that process. And so he's saying most contacts make it through all the nurture sequences to the end of the campaign, but a significant amount of them either ghost or say not interested when I ask for a meeting to review their listing. Would it be better to do a quick Loom video going over their listing, auditing their GBP, soft pitching, and adding them to a newsletter in order to have a larger list of warm contacts that are open to getting pitched, rather than requesting a meeting, which either results in a booked call about 8 to 10% of the time or kills the potential for contacting them in the future? So just very quickly, that's what I do. And I've talked about this before on Hump Day Hangouts, guys. Look, if the contact is engaged with me in that pre-call warm-up process, which is done 100% via automation and AI now, including the outbound voice calls to get the appointment booked. I look at the engagement history in high level, you can see it just in the conversation view. You can look and see the activity levels and the back and forth between the contact and the automations and the AI. You can see the whole thing. And so I look in high level and just see how engaged was that contact up until the booked appointment. And if they were very engaged, then when I'm on the appointment, like in the meeting room waiting for them, tree guys are notorious for not showing up. A lot of local businesses aren't, because they might have had good intentions when they booked the appointment to make it, but they're running their business. They're always putting out fires, always playing whack-a-mole. And so a lot of the times they just honestly couldn't make it. With tree guys, a lot of times they just don't want to make it, but also they're very, very busy. Anyway, long story short, if I see that they were very engaged, then because I already had 30 minutes blocked off on my calendar, if they don't make it, if they don't show up in the first 5 minutes, I send them a text message. Hey, I'm waiting in the Google Meet, or used to say Zoom, but now Google Meet for our scheduled appointment. Please join me here. And I send them the link. If they replied back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I got caught up on something, or I'm not going to make it, or whatever, then because I already had that time blocked off, that's when I've already had, right before the call, I always open up all the tabs where I've got their local search grid report or their rank reports and their website pulled up, their GBP, et cetera. I've got all this stuff already ready for the call. And so if they don't show up for the call, as long as they were engaged or they reply back to a text message stating like, sorry, I can't make it, I'll use the rest of that time that I had blocked to record a video. And I send it to them. I just say, hey, look, and I understand you're a busy guy. This happens all the time. No problem here. I've recorded a video to kind of go over what I was going to go over with you on the call. And I send it to them. And then, by the way, just to answer, Huzzy, I don't ask their permission to add them to a newsletter. They just go on to my newsletter. I've never asked a single tree contractor, hey, is it all right if I add you to my newsletter? They just go on my newsletter. If they don't like it, they can unsubscribe. You know what I mean? And so, and I just talked about this, like I've closed 4 new tree service contractors now in the last 2 weeks, and I haven't even tried. And like, I'm not even trying to grow my tree service business, SEO business right now, because I'm just focusing on white label. But because of all the leads in my pipeline, on my nurture sequence and in my newsletter list, et cetera, one of them I closed one of them on a review service last year in June. I think it was in May or June. And it was a $99 a month service. And just 3 weeks ago, he reached out and said, like, hey man, I'm not really happy with my current marketing provider, blah, blah, blah. I've been getting your newsletters. I'd like to have a chat with you. So I scheduled a call with him. We got on call. I just closed him. You know what I mean? So this just goes to show you what you're asking about. Yes, just because they don't show up to an appointment doesn't mean that they've gone cold completely. They're just not ready yet. You see what I'm saying? Like, I always look at it this way, guys. Time and circumstance changes everything. It always does. And so if you're not pushy with them on the front end, which is why I'm never pushy at all, then if they're not ready, which most of them aren't going to be right now, they likely will be ready later. And as long as you weren't pushy and you were very cool with them, you build a little bit of rapport with them in that initial kind of stage when you meet them, so to speak, then they're usually a lot more open and receptive. When they are ready, then they're going to think, well, hey, this guy seemed to be easy to work with. Like, he wasn't pushy, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give him a call and see what he has to offer for me. So that's what I mean, again, I'm telling you guys, a non-pushy sales approach is the best way to go, in my opinion, when you're dealing with local businesses, because they get pitched to on the regular all the time. And so being kind of different will help you to stand out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Any comments on that from you, Ian?
No, I think that's great advice. I mean, I got something of value out of that, because using that remaining meeting time, I think that's an awesome idea. I mean, I have calls that don't connect. Sometimes it's a little bit different for me. These would be like white label clients, agency owners, but yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, like, I would be looking at, I mean, like, honestly, I would be having people look at those conversation chains that are leading up to it, and I'd be getting feedback on those to see if there's anything that you can add on top of it, add more value, add more engagement, add deeper questions, add anything that's going to like give some indication that you know something to value about their business, or that you're discovering things or like interested in it. You know, I think anything that makes it clear that this isn't the surface level conversation, that this is something that that's more interesting in that email chain without being, you know, weird. That would be the place that I would look. I have a call that I do need to jump on.
All right, and we're already 4 minutes over anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on and being a guest host and all that. And we'll love to have you back at some other time. It was always a pleasure. So
yeah, this was great. Thank you guys so much. This was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed our conversations. Yeah, and anybody who wants to reach out to me, you can just email me, ian@agencyassassin.com. Otherwise, guys, I really appreciate you guys for having me on.
Right on. When you launch your course, let us know. We'll have you back on.
Great. Sounds good.
Right on.
Thank you.
Hey, man.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.